Well, hello folks, you're very welcome to the Gmodism channel. We're back into From the Depth, where we are building on Admiral LCG Canyon's mega super uber large ship. And you know what's cool? I designed some merch and it actually just arrived. Oh yeah, get it now. So some reviews and closer look on that will be coming up, but you can buy it already if you want to support the channel. About that, thanks a lot to the commissioned officers in the army of Gmodism. Stellar Admiral LCG Canyon, which we're building this ship for. Captain Scooby Rocks, Commander Regine, Lieutenant Asteria, Parpa Greed, Tyler Russ, and cadets Martin McBacon and Shark93. Thanks a lot for supporting the channel, it definitely helps me out. So, you can see there is a considerable lack of turrets on this ship. It only has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's probably more than 20, I don't know. It has a lot of turrets. There's probably some stat page we can check that at. I actually found something here in block counter. We have 18 elevator turrets and 84 one-axis turret. Like some of these are the anti-missile turrets. Then we have like the 3-meter turrets, 9, and we have yeah. Anyways, we don't need to count that. Whatever. The only thing you need to know is that there is too few turrets. You may or may have not seen my Twitch streams, where we have been building some turrets and doing some other stuff. And if you haven't followed me on Twitch already, please do, because all live streams are there instead of YouTube nowadays. And that's because I became a Twitch affiliate and they won't let me restream, basically. So we're only on Twitch now, so follow there. In any case, I've added some turrets to this structure. You may have seen me building some turrets. This is the dome turrets. One of these are a HESH turret and the other one is a shield disruptor. So they are basically there to deactivate era spam armor schemes. So if someone tried to do a lot of era spam as some kind of armor, the HESH turret should just spread out tiny HESH fragments to just detonate all the era inside of there, and the shield disruptor cannon should spray a significant amount of, you know, disruption on it. Anyways, these are shooting at a nice 977 RPM, almost a little bit higher, because I think that's the... Oh, it's something like that, and we have, so 977 RPM, so it's shooting fairly fast, they're just spamming the shelf there. I think they are very nice indeed. And other than that, we need to go below the water. You may see we have some diff guns. I added some extra diff guns a little bit here and there, just because they are cool. My 420mm diff guns they're packing a punch. It's a armor piercing frag. They do some good damage. And I don't remember, I already added these yeah, I already added these in earlier. Yeah, I did. So that's kind of the turrets. For the rest, we need to go below the surface. So here, my ladies and gentlemen, this is a 210mm underwater sea whiz cannon. So it's basically there to try and kill big torpedoes, or help the anti-missile missiles to kill big torpedoes. They're doing a decent job. I have 3 of them. And I wanted this additional defense because I thought it was a little bit sad that our super large ship, with like a lot of anti-missile missiles and anti-torpedo torpedoes and stuff like that, were not able to take out a swarm of the Stronghold's torpedoes, which are absolutely insane. If you wanna not get hit by those torpedoes, my best recommendation would actually be to just avoid them. You know, like the Filke, just jump over them. Or, joke aside, you can spam anti-torpedo torpedoes, but that lags your game and is a little bit stupid, so I didn't want to spam it. So, with the addition of these, we can now withstand the torpedo barrage from the Stronghold. And even if we want, we have some exterior parts that will absorb most of the damage, so yeah. that's basically that. I think that's what we have added in this little iteration of the Admiral's ship. So let's move on to the next one. So here it is. And you might be like, okay, Gmodism, but what's different? Well, since you ask, let us show you what's different. So you can see here, boosted from 40 to 47. Huh. And whatever it is, boosted from 35 to 42. Can look at the rubber, boosted from 6 to 10. And you're like, weird stuff, what is this boosting all about? Let me introduce you to ring shields. We have ring shields here. We have ring shields at some different locations, hidden-ish underwater at ish safe spots. And they are, okay, not here. They are anyways set up so that they will not do any significant damage to other like pieces in case / when they blow up. Because when they blow up, like here, there will be an infinite beam going in any direction here that is in the line of these tubes. So we needed to make sure that if one of these blows up, it's gonna detonate another one for sure, but it's gonna go straight through here and it won't hit anything. And if it blows up along these lines, it's gonna go straight down to the water or straight up towards the armor. It's not gonna hit anything important. So that's kind of something you have to think about when making ring shields. And I made this use ring shields. So we actually use a lot of power to power these ring shields, and it boosts our armor scheme from up, down, side to side, front and back, with a different little amount. We can look at the let's see here. Oh, and we have some extra power generation in the pontoons. Just because I thought that one of these sides will face the enemy, and yes, these will be pretty susceptible to damage, but the ones at the other side of this structure, which are all over here, will be completely, basically, very safe. So I thought that was a kind of good spot to actually have them. So we basically have the ring shields a little bit here and there, and they are giving us a huge armor boost. We can see that 5.7 is forward backs, side to side, because it's a left and right sider, is plus 7.7, so it's more to the sides, and upwards is only plus 4.5, so it's a little bit smaller, but it's basically to limit the damage done by like hollow point mortars and stuff like that. So we have added a big ring shield protective system to just boost the armor class all over this place. And that's very much needed since we're using a thin layer of alloy to cover this thing and the superstructure, and it's basically, it's okay if it's kind of shoots through here and it doesn't matter too much, but we want of course to limit the damage as much as possible, and to do that I thought ring shields was a decent idea. So basically the armor on this thing is now better than it should be. Very nice. So let's move on to the next part. What will I add? What will I add? It starts with D and ends with decorations. Oh yeah, there we have it. So we added some small decorations on this thing. Not much maybe, but I think it adds to the aesthetic a lot. So LCG Canyon has this little roleplay faction thing called Ryujin Federation, and it has a little flag. And since we can't add the flag to the flag post because that's kind of only local on your computer, I added a flag as a mark on the side of the ship because that's kind of what we do. So it says Army of Gmodism Admiral Wani Ryujin Federation. We probably change or add or fix that text a little bit later, but I wanted to have some text on top of that because it looks like it's kind of meant to be a reading board thing. And it's a Army of Gmodism ship, so I just added the AoG golden insignia that should absolutely be on a formidable ship like this. This has it's colored the wrong way, that's weird. Okay. good I saw this. This is a big deal. It does not have the right color at the end of this barrel, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely unacceptable. Well, anyways, I think it looks pretty cool. I hope you think so too. I don't know. And there are a lot of other stuff I added here. So we've had some little power issues. I needed to check my notes to see what did I add this time. But it goes a little bit too low, kind of. So I added some sections with hydrofoils that are just giving us upwards force. This ship is basically unsinkable. You can't sink it, it will always float. But in the pontoons as well, all the pontoons have hydrofoils at the bottom here. So it makes it basically goes a little bit higher than it went before, and that's very good because then we can see you can see the water is kind of clear here from under, like the landing pads are not going into the water, and that's exactly as it should be. Even though this is the case, it's not going much faster, but I guess some of the force is now used to bring it upwards, so it kind of kind of canceled itself out a little bit. I think if we wanna go faster, we had to add more propulsion. Yeah. Let me see though. The center of mass is above the water, so we could probably add some custom jet engines to boost this thing too. Now we have a lot of custom jet engines in this thing actually, but these are only here for adding to our power and energy generation at demand. So inside of here, in this empty space, I've added just some storage containers and some auxiliary power production. And at the missile launcher area, the vertical extra one, this one, I added an extra battery storage because this thing is already completely EMP protected. Not the best place to have it maybe, but to be honest, we want redundancy and we want batteries at different locations. So if the enemy is using trying to overload us with torpedoes, we have some batteries on that's basically not getting hit by them too. Yeah, so that's just some decoration and stuff like that. What I have been doing, which is completely invisible, is I've added a lot of things regarding like power generation and like the balance between how much power and how much energy we used. I noticed that on some certain areas we were using too much electricity, and then I changed it and we're using too much power, and then I balanced it out so it kind of works. I've also added so that the ring shields are only activated when there is an enemy in the close vicinity, because otherwise it just uses like a shit ton of material for not doing anything. And we have one little cool thing that I feel we need to check out here. So we make sure we sit here, and we're just gonna spawn a little enemy of some kind. Not the largest thing, but maybe a crossbones. You hear? So, we can watch here and listen to this beautiful little music. So whenever there is an enemy close by, we will play the anthem of the Ryujin Federation. So that's really cool. LCG Canyon has fixed to have a actual anthem of some kind. I don't really know what it's from or who's made it. I don't remember that. But it's a unique little thing for the Ryujin Federation, so it just plays here whenever there's an enemy, and it should stop when the enemy is killed. And that's really cool. It sounds very cool, but of course you have to be in the vicinity, so it doesn't sound here, but when we are inside of here, you can. And it, I think it feels very epic to sit in this little, like commanding bridge, looking out over the ship like this, and just seeing these enormous guns. just pounding the enemy to the tunes of like Georgian chanting. It's very, very cool. It adds a lot to the effect. I think it's nice. So that's something I probably need to do too. I need to have an army of Gmodism anthem, because I don't have that right now. I have the logo and the insignias and the flag, but yeah, I think it's very dead. It's very dead. One thing we added too is just to add to the anti-missile defensive systems, I've added a little missile engine or missile pack here, which actually has secondary torpedo propellers, and another pack here, so they work under and above water, and they should add to the overall defense of the craft. Yeah, one thing I need to do is to limit the turret rotations. All of the turrets don't have like full available rotation, so we need to fix that a little bit, because right now some of the turrets can get entangled, and some turrets accidentally shoot other parts, which is not so good. So that's something that have to be fixed, and I suppose also that I should have all the turrets be in a certain direction when idle, so it looks a little bit cooler, kind of. So that all of these maybe were pointing a little bit forwards, kind of. I think would be pretty cool. Well, that's basically the ship so far. We are getting closer to the finishing line. I'll need to talk a little bit with LCG Canyon on like final touches and eventual changes that might need to be done. And oh, here we have it, a tangled one, yeah. But I also need to battle test it a little bit more. But other than that, the ship is taking shape and it's soon more or less finished. And of course, or it's not soon more or less finished, because I need to solve some like things. I'm soon going to show you how it's going with the drone or the VTOL, but I need to make the system that docks them, spawns them, and does all those of things. And it was a long time I did that, so it will be a learning process for me. But the ship itself is of course taking shape. And again, I need to talk a little bit with LCG Canyon to get the final touches right and stuff like that. And we'll probably fix some interior-ish areas that look a little bit nicer. But other than that, we're really getting this ship together, and I must say I'm pretty happy with it so far. One thing that you have requested is that we should have smokestacks on this design, and I'm being a little bit hesitant about that, because it should be a ship that looks modern, and smokestacks kind of lets it look a little bit less modern, but possibly we'll add that, because the original reference image does have smokestacks. But even though it's modern, it's some kind of combo style, of course. Whenever I build something, there is always a touch of steampunk and dieselpunk, because I can't help myself. But yeah, I guess that's just my personal building style that I will never lay off completely, you know. Because I just can't, and I don't think anyone would want that either. Or who knows. But anyways, let's look at the progress with the drone. So, when building small ships, we need to build the main guns and basically build the ship around it. So, me and LCG Canyon, we talked a little bit about what should be on the drone. And I talked with some other people in Discord and YouTube comments, and what we're going to do is to make a 500mm HESH diff gun drone thing. And because cluster missiles are really cool, we're also going to have some clusters missiles on them. Of course, it's going to be medium cluster missile that carries small ones, but it's going to be something. So I started lining out the diff gun, and after doing that, I have started building on the shape of the thing. So we lined out the diff gun, we added some AA components, And it's gonna be too expensive and too large if we EMP secure this entire thing. So it will have an EMP weakness. If we get a heavy EMP shot on us, we'll be in trouble, but that goes for almost any aircraft that's small. It's not gonna be the hugest thing because, well, we wanna have many of these, basically, not like 4. So I've added like the armor components and the diff gun inside of here and started to outline the body of the craft. We also need one of these recoil things because otherwise I think we'll just spin around in air. We'll do like a involuntary 360 volt. So yeah, this thing is nice. Further outlining here, I've added the wing portions and it's gonna be a VTOL design, so it will have spin blocks controlling some propellers vertically like that. Here we have a little cluster missile system. It's a variable thruster, it has extensions, and we have the missiles inside of here. Yeah, so they're doing their thing. We have an engine here, which I think I'll be changing because it's a little bit too bulky. We need a smaller injector design for this thing. But I'm thinking it's starting to take a nice shape. I like it so far. And here we have a design that's starting to be flyable, and you can see we have some propellers here on these sticks on spin blocks. And I just realized I have no idea how to set up this system. So I probably need to ask some people in the Discord to set these vertical, like these propellers to shift between vertical and forwards to basically do their thing. I suppose, like what I can make is make them be 90 degrees an angle like this, and just I can make them be this angle when in forward movement, and basically be in a vertical, completely vertical angle when it's gonna just be used for standing still. But if possible, and if it's possible to do without breadboards, I would like them to kind of organically shift the angle between how much power will be used for upwards thrust and how much power will be used for like forwards thrust. Right now it's quite wonky, it's a little bit unstable, so we need to fix that a little bit, but it's basically ish functional now. We have detection, we have the internal components, here we have a much smaller little injector engine that gives us more than twice the power. And I don't know what Admiral LCG Canyon wanna call this thing, but because it's gonna be a ship that goes into medium close combat, fires 500 millimeters, 10 meter long Hesh rounds, it is a kind of like this craft is set up to deal with larger foes than itself. It's not a toe-to-toe combat that deals with. It's not an anti-aircraft aircraft. It is a bigger target aircraft. And it goes in pretty close, just not to miss, and also to distract the enemy. So it has some guts. And because of that, I had to select a good name for it as of working with it. So I call it the Admiral's Stürmer. So it's like the storming, it's a stormer craft. And I played around with mimics here to make this beautiful little cockpit thing. I like it at least. And it's made to kind of work with the design we have on the ship. They should really match, of course. And we integrated the thrusters and made the missiles be a little bit more acceptable. And I also tuned the... what is it called? I tuned the... what are they called? The PIDs? I tuned the PIDs, so I haven't frozen this vehicle in air. This is just how stable it is. It's very stable. I made it. I'm pretty happy with the stability I was able to get out of this thing. It needs some tweaking and stuff like that, and I think I'll need some kind of landing gear, at least like rubber slides or something like that. And I need to finish off the ACBs and stuff like here to make it be able to, well, use the spin blocks that control the vertical propellers. But other than that, I added some mimics, I added some functionality, and I'm happy with it so far. Like, we can actually spawn just some airplane thing. One thing I want to know is how much does this thing cost? It costs 12,000. So I don't know. It uses a cluster missile setup, so that's not your cheapest thing. But let's spawn a 50k aircraft, the bomber here. You can see the first shot completely missed. We'll need to tweak it a little bit. It goes higher. Tries to kind of it wanna go close. Oh, I think am I? Oh, there you can see the diff gun did a big thing. Just ooh, and there goes something important. Our medium missile killed something quite important there. Okay, and now we're gonna are we gonna dive down with it to make sure it's really dead? I think I fixed the roll to be a little bit more stable, but I can see that I need to go into the Sturmer, PIDs, roll. We'll need to set the gain to like super low or something. Because it's so small and so light, it's just really stable. And we need to, it uses a diff hash gun, so we need to like make sure it has loaded guns. We can just spawn, I don't know. Let's spawn a Shrike. It has a similar cost. No, now I'm missing the battle. You can see. You can find this missile here. And this missile needs to be tuned a little bit. It's not maneuverable enough, so it often actually misses. I've noticed. Boom. Miss. And as said, we're not really, like, the purpose of this thing is not to deal with enemy aircraft, really. Of course, it can do it, but we also have only one carrier unit for the cluster missiles, so they can't actually fire the two missiles with payload at a close vicinity like that. They are set up to have a delay between them, and they're supposed to kind of chill out a little bit between the shots, since it's, you know, it's supposed to shoot this missile from a longer distance towards a larger craft. So possibly we could actually check this thing out. We're just gonna save this. Can destroy. Okay, it's dead. We could just add like a small boat or something like that. I'm really bad at all the factions so far. I haven't played a campaign through yet, and that's kind of weird. Let's spawn like 2 marauders, because they are the doomed targets of all time. And here we have something. We can probably reload APS shells. See the missiles. We have 4 small ones with frag and the larger one dealing some EMP damage. And the other missile went for that. Probably I want to set the combat altitude. Oh yes. Oh, you see there. It really deals some damage. And it's 8 seconds between all these diff gun shots. That's a complete miss for the second shot there. The combat distance is actually set to be like really close, like 150 meters, and that's probably too close. I'm probably gonna set that to be a little bit further, like, but not too far, like 300 meters or something, because we want to really be in our enemies' faces. That's kind of the purpose of this thing, to be really annoying against larger ships. Just being there and delivering a big hash rod, which I think we can. We just slow this down a little bit. Maybe we shot all the shots, I'm not sure. But if we do like this, we know we can fire. You can see this is a big hash rod. And it's like, boom, dealing lots of damage. We can deal it like in the face of the enemy, and if we're that close, I don't think many LAM systems would be able to deal with it. Well, anyways, that is what we have been working on so far. So, put your suggestions in comments. I'm gonna talk to LCG Canyon so we can see what we can do for our Admiral. And if you wanna support the channel, well, there is the merch too now, but you can also become a commissioned officer in the army of Gmodism, and there are some nice rewards that you might like. In any case, this is your host Gmodism, and we are signing out. Bye bye, thanks a lot for watching.